Hi, welcome to DG Aerobatics, back again for another video. Slightly different video. I'm just sat in my van at the moment, been doing a bit of F3A, doing some P25 schedules today, so it's been pretty good. Windy, a bit cold, but I'm just in getting a warm up, so I thought I'd shoot this little video. So yesterday I went to Angus Model Flying Club and I did my BMFA C Aerobatics test. Now that's something I've been meaning to do for a while now, more of a personal achievement type thing for me, because I've done my A and B test like years ago and you know, I just wanted to do the C for like completion type thing. So I'd definitely recommend doing that test. I had two excellent instructors, Andy Perry and Bill Anderson, so they led me through the test and I appreciate them doing that for me. So anyway, rolled up on the day at Angus Model Flying Club yesterday morning. I used my 103 laser. I had to do a bit of quick setting up because yeah, it's more set up for freestyle and stuff like that, so I had to do a bit of tweaking with the rates to do one or two of the maneuvers in the test, but it was really good. So I've done the compulsory maneuvers. I've actually got them listed here. So the compulsory figures in the C test was a slow roll in either direction, inverted for 5 seconds below 30 feet with a roll inverted to inverted on the centre. There was an inverted 2.5 spin, exit inverted in the opposite direction to entry, square loop with a half roll on the up line and a half roll on the down line, and then there was a belly in stall turn with quarter rolls on the up line and down line. They were the compulsory figures. Now years ago the C test was more sort of a precision type thing, but in recent years they introduced 3D maneuvers as the optionals alongside some precision moves, you know, to cater for the models that were coming out and the sort of moves pilots are doing nowadays. So I picked out of the 7 chosen figures, knife edge flight below 30 feet. I've done a rolling circle. There was a blender which had to be a minimum of 3 rolls and 3 inverted flat spin turns at the bottom, and you can roll in Harrier out of it if you want. There was a rolling Harrier below 20 feet just along the strip. 20-second prop hang with 3 torque rolls within those 20 seconds, and that had to be over the sort of flying runway area. There was an elevator on a 40 feet 45 degree downline, and a high alpha knife edge with a half roll on the center, minimum 50 feet. Okay, so done that, all went really well, and then the landing had to be within a designated 5-meter area that was marked out with cones. So I've done that. I was really happy with the way it went. The examiners were pleased with the flight. So even though, you know, hardly done any flying recently, well, last couple of weeks really, because of the weather, you know, it was really good. So I was pleased, very, very pleased. Now the main thing for anyone doing their C, and what I always do anyway, is a very methodical pre-flight checks. Make sure you go over the whole plane, have a set routine, you know, linkages, hinges, undercarriage, wheels, wing bolts, connections, you know, servo connections, connections into the power box, receiver connections, check your battery voltages, check your propeller for nicks and chips and delaminations and so forth on the undercarriage, and right up to the front of the plane. So done that, then make sure you go through your your suites. So sun, how's that in relation to where you're flying? Wind, what direction's that going? I was fortunate yesterday, it was reasonably windy, but it was blowing out just a few degrees, which I kind of like really, particularly if I'm doing any sort of prop hanging type stuff. Check the forecast, make sure you're okay for your flight. and the flying day. Environment, so you check the clouds, you check, you know, where you're flying, this sort of stuff. What you're going to do in the event of an emergency, you know, where are you going to land if you have an engine cut? What are you going to do if something goes wrong? What are you going to do if there's a full size come over? Consider things like that. And the T stands for transmitter controls. If there's anything going on at your site with regard to transmitter controls, you know, if you're running 35 meg or there's any particular conditions on your transmitters, you know, even if you're running 2.4, good idea to investigate that. And S on the suites is for site rules. So, you know, if you're doing displays and whatnot, you're going to different sites, so make sure you check out the site rules for the field that you're at, or even if it's your normal regular field, it doesn't do any harm to revisit the site rules. You know, it might have changed, or, you know, some no-fly zone might have changed, or the amount of pilots that are allowed up at one time. You need to know these sorts of things, so make sure you do all that. Make sure you've got a really clean layout. You've set all your equipment out good. You've got a methodical starting up routine. Check all the controls. Check your fail safe. All that sort of stuff. The other acronym is the SMART routine. So SMART. Make sure you run through that after you've done your suites and you're gonna fly, basically. So the S stands for switch on your transmitter. The M stands for model select. Make sure you've got the right model select, because some transmitters you haven't got actual model match. So if you select the wrong model, the model you're flying may operate, but the controls may be messed up. So then you check your aerial orientation, make sure that's okay. If you're 35 meg, make sure it's fully extended, of course. 2.4 gig, maybe you have to orientate it a certain way to make sure you're getting maximum coverage of the signal. And then you check your rates, flight modes, trims, that sort of stuff. And then the T stands for transmitter voltage, so make sure, you know, I use the T transmitter to just give an overall check of my transmitter, make sure it's okay. Everything on the screen is good, trims are good, the voltage and everything is all okay. Then you're all alright. You can switch your plane on and you can go through your startup routine. So make sure you are you've got like your methodical routine, and then you're really vocal about, you know, taking your plane onto the runway, clear to take off. You know, when you land, and shout, you know, okay to land, okay to retrieve your plane. Once you retrieve your plane, clear of the runway, all that sort of stuff. And that just really helps with making you look proficient and well practiced at what you do. So after you've brought your plane into the pits area, make sure you again have a set methodical routine for, you know, your checks after you flight. You know, something could have happened when you perhaps you hit, you know, a stone hit the propeller, or you landed a bit hard, or there was a bump in the runway, or even if it's an absolute greaser of a landing, still go over your post-flight checks, your plane. You know, you're checking things like undercarriage, propeller for damage, you know, you're doing your proper routines with your transmitter, i.e. model off, transmitter off, never the other way around. All that sort of stuff, sensible routines. Just go over all the plane fastenings, you know, check your fuel level, see how much you use, see how much juice you used in the flight. You can check your onboard battery capacity, so you go, right, well, hold on a minute, I used that amount of milliamps in that flight, okay, I'm all right for another couple of flights on this charge, for example. So all that sort of stuff, you're doing that anyway, and get that into your kind of general flying routine, and then, you know, hopefully things will work out good for you. And the other thing, the examiners may just have like a general discussion with you about anything related to model flying, particularly on the display flying type scene, because you may end up doing that if you're doing aerobatics, you're doing your seed test, for example. So general discussion, kind of less of the explicit questions that you'd probably get in your A and B test. Well, you will get them in your A and B test. So it's more of a discussion to see you like a thinking pilot. They're trying to delve in and see what sort of your general routines, what you're thinking about when you go for a flying session. Make sure you know your distances from assemblies of people to where you're flying for the particular weight of the model you're flying, and general BMFA rules and current guidelines. So that I do that anyway. It's just what you do just through a long time doing the hobby and stuff. So but it really good to revisit all the BMFA guidelines, the rules, the current legislation, because it's changing. So it's good to see what the legislation is, if there's any protocols when you're flying that you need to adhere to. So a couple of things to bear in mind. So it was really good, well pleased. Give it a try, I can recommend it, and good luck if you give it a go. It certainly gives you a sense of achievement. Alright, so thank you for watching, folks. I'm Dan Gullo, team pilot with J Perkins, AZ Aerosports, Futaba UK and Aerobatics. So check them out. I'll see you next time.